As many of you know, our Unitarian Universalist movement is going through some changes in our larger bylaws, and we're looking to update our 7 principles to what's called the Article 2. And it's got a list of 6 values, or 7 values, with love being the overarching value. And the theme, our worship theme for this month is transformation, which is one of the values. And what the proposed changes read is, transformation, we adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages. Never complete and never perfect. Now, change, never mind transformation, is tricky as individuals or as a community. Because I've noticed that most of us want things to improve but don't want to change. So there's a fundamental problem with that idea. And I think we are challenged in Unitarian Universalism, not just to change, but to transform. And some of us got a head start in this, what I like to call my advanced placement group, who attended my Lent worship, my Lent Action Sunday a few weeks ago, where we started looking at the practice of Lent, the Christian practice of Lent, which generally is the idea of giving up something. But we also, because we're Unitarian Universalists, we wanted to give up something but add something. Give up something to give us space. Because one of the ideas of Lent, and of course tonight is the beginning of Ramadan in the Muslim tradition. And the idea of Ramadan is really interesting. During this, from sunrise to sunset, they give up the idea of eating and drinking. And it's so that they become closer and make a deeper relationship with the consciousness of God. They want to connect to a deeper understanding of the consciousness of God. I really invite you to think about that. I know God can be a problematic word. What would having a deeper understanding of the consciousness of God mean to you? I want you to really think of that, because I think it's quite rich. Now, of course, in the Lent workshop that I led a few weeks ago, I talked about how a few years ago, I actually gave up Lent. I gave up alcohol, coffee, and sweet things, sugar. Now, Buddhism has got this idea that, you get attached to these things that are impermanent. And one of the ways by giving up things, it tells you where your cravings are. I didn't miss alcohol very much. I didn't miss desserts. But my wife said, don't ever give up coffee ever again. I was so grumpy. Now, so that would say that's what I should give up. But I love Natalie very much, and to preserve my marriage, I did not give up coffee ever again. So Buddhism got trumped by wanting to preserve the relationship with Natalie. But there is an idea that, we can think of giving up as a deprivation. But I like the idea of what we did. We tried to add something to it. Because we want to make space, because ultimately by giving something up, the practice of Lent or the practice of Ramadan, where the Muslims may frame it as a closer understanding to the consciousness of God, I think it can also be what is of ultimate importance to us. And one of the things that many of us who are still doing this Lent practice, there's a group of 13 of us who can email each week. Well, I email and they ignore it. I think that's the main thing. It's that we're all finding that it really is, we're trying to do something we've always wanted to do. And one of the things I noticed is, one of the things I wanted to do, I was really reluctant to do it, but because of the accountability of the group, I would do it. It was a lot harder to add something than to stop doing something. It's a lot harder to add something in and find the time than to stop doing something. I think that's really interesting, because this is something I really, really wanted to do. And Mariana was asking me, and yes, it was playing an hour of guitar every night. And I haven't made it every night of the week, but I've done it 5 or 6 times. But that, which is quite, but that was finding an hour a day to really do something that I really wanted to do. And to get started was really hard. And I know there's times I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been accountable to this group. And one of our current seven principles is the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And we all like the free part of that. But the responsible part is we're accountable to the community for it. It's a responsible search for truth and meaning. It's not just a free search. Because the free part is very easy. The responsible part, being accountable, is the hard part of a lot of this. But the idea, invite you, you can do your own practice. It's like, what would you like to make room for in your own life? What would you like to take the time to explore? What is of ultimate importance? What is of ultimate meaning to us? And how can you make a change in your life? What can you give up in your life to allow space in that? Because I think that's the practice of Lent. That's the practice of Buddhism with giving, basically, reducing our cravings, basically detaching from those things that are impermanent. With Ramadan, I think that could be getting a closer relationship with the consciousness of God, because of all the things that I believe that's sacred in the world is our consciousness. It's unexplainable. It's a mystery. And I do believe it's truly sacred.